And, and I do have a participant on Clubhouse. There's someone there. So we'll get started. So we're almost at time. And what else do I want to share? I kind of like 11:59. I'm kind of like, oh, I'm ready. Get ready.
So good.
Yeah. So I am going to go ahead and get started because I'm going to sit here and do this until my thing says 12 noon, and I just want to go ahead and be on point. So anyway, I want to say welcome everyone who's here with us in the Courageous Conversations, the Fireside Chat. I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for participating with us. What you know is that we have these Fireside Chats once a month, first Saturday of each month at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And the purpose of it is to discuss some things that may be difficult, painful, challenging. You may not really have a space to have these conversations. And what we're doing is we're offering a safe place for it, because all of us have had life experiences, some that are good, bad, exciting, some that are painful, difficult, and challenging. And you may be left with residual feelings of hurt, anger, angst, anxiety, uncertainty about certain sensitive issues. And if you never talk about it, those issues are unresolved. And Courageous Conversations is a safe, the Fireside Chat is a safe space for this insightful, life-changing conversation about life issues that helps you embrace a new way of thinking. And that's the intention behind these monthly conversations. And so the intention is that you will heal, you will thrive, you'll prosper as you go through this and some other things that Courageously Alive, our whole community, offers. And we take a deep dive into topics that people find challenging or that may challenge your thinking, transform your beliefs, and provoke new insights about yourself and your life. And so our intention is to go from seriousness to fun. So we're running the whole gamut of this whole experience that we call life, because that's what we do. I just want to say at the outset that this program, or this is being recorded so that you know. And I want to get started by introducing my guest. And I want to talk a little bit about why we're having this topic, your empowered self, in this month. For those of you that may or may not know, April is considered Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And for people who have had that experience, I have, it's something that can be very, very devastating. It can challenge your belief and your way of understanding intimacy, sex, a whole lot of things. And it takes a lot of rethinking, refocusing, and even healing to get yourself to a place of equilibrium about sex, where you're actually feeling like you're okay, you're even, you can do this without feeling victimized, or whatever the case may be. And the truth of the matter is, I have had some of these talks about sexual assault, and it winds up being, it's very, very, it's not empowering all the time. Sometimes it can feel that way, but a lot of times it's coming from a state of victimization. And I know that when I first started coaching, I was actually facilitating workshops for women who had experienced sexual abuse. And there was still a lot of pain and a lot of, why me around that whole thing. So what I decided to do was to take an empowered approach to this topic and introduce someone who can talk to us about intimacy, sensuality, personal connections with your partner in a way that's empowered, because that's what this whole series is about, particularly for this year. It's about empowerment. So I want to introduce my guest, Monaye Marcia. Monaye is a certified trauma and sex coach, helping people tell a new story about their journey after experiencing life-altering trauma. Monaye's unique and custom approach helps her clients integrate alternative thinking methods and new ideas into their day-to-day lives in an effort to change the habits and setbacks that stand in the way of their progress. This methodology is what she calls the post-traumatic growth mindset. And Monaye empowers her clients to face their past head on and use it as a stepping stone to the future. Through her own journey, battling with divorce, alcohol abuse, suicide attempts, and countless other challenges, she understands the feelings and has pushed through those setbacks and is now on a mission to help every person on a similar journey towards help and fulfillment. Very, very much in line with Courageously Alive. Let me just tell you, and kind of in line with my experience. Monaye is also a founding member of the Coaches of Color Collective, a monthly roundtable that focuses on strengthening the Black coaching community by empowering their minds. Her Growth the Hell Up podcast is about helping people live the life they want, regardless of their current life challenges or what they had to overcome. And so I want to say welcome. Thank you, Monaye, for being part of this conversation, this courageous conversation, the fireside chat this month. So what do you want to share? Do you have anything you want to share really quickly?
Let's just say thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I love the fact that this particular month is not, in the way that you're going about it, is not just like, let's not just spend the time on what went wrong.
Right.
Right? Well, what can we do to grow? What can we do to change? What can we do to love on ourselves? What can we do to empower ourselves to be amazing?
Mhm.
That right there, when you told me about it, I was like, put me in, coach. Put me in.
I want to be part of the game.
Yes, absolutely. 1000% want to be a part of it.
Right. So, I mean, one of the things that's interesting about this topic, hey, Terrell, is so often I think we as people in particular, and I wonder if it's just the African-American community, that we don't really talk about sex, we don't talk about intimacy, we don't talk about those things. We do it, but we don't talk about it in a way that's empowering, in a way that allows us to really define what it means to us. And so what would you say about that? I mean, how do you perceive that in your experience, especially as a sex coach? And before you get to that, tell me what it means for you to be a sex coach.
Let's talk about it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory.
Okay.
So whenever I decided to do coaching as a life coach, what I did was I was helping my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And my previous niche, or the people that I was helping, was parents or who child experienced parental homicide. So it was very narrowed down. And then I was like, wait, but you know what? We see you doing amazing, and both of your children's fathers was murdered. Like, how you out here living good? And so then I started helping other people that was experiencing trauma. Right. And so that's how I got into that part. The thing about the sex coaching was I always used to be very afraid to tell the world how I felt about me when it came to my intimacy. And so it was always hidden. It was like keeping in the closet kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You don't talk about it. You don't, but only the people that was with me, like my closest friends, my cousins, they always knew they can come to me. They asked me all the questions. I was always helping people have amazing intimacy with themselves or others, with partners. And they always came to me, but I was like, you can't talk about that. You can't help people with sex. Like, people don't want to hear about that. So for me, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it was such a big thing that I didn't think people wanted to talk about it. So for me, it was like, if you've been helping people in other areas, and people always come to you, because I have a huge family, so lots of cousins, male and female, come to you about this, do you think maybe you can share it with others?
So let me ask you, what were they asking you about specifically?
Specifically, okay, so females would be like, okay, I'm having vaginal dryness, or, I don't know how to enjoy this part, or I'm thinking about this all the time, and my partner wants to do this, but I don't want to, or how can I be more comfortable? For the guys, they would be like, how can I get a female comfortable with doing things? Or they was experiencing ED. How can I get help with ED? Or what does it look like to love on my partner?
Erectile dysfunction, right?
Yes, erectile dysfunction. So it's like, it was the gamut. And then they would also come ask me about relationship part. And the interesting thing is, I was always in a relationship. I'm a relationship kind of person, but they would always ask me these questions about partnerships, about everything. And they knew I knew when it came to the sex part of it. They knew that because they're my family members. So they get to experience, a lot of conversations that other people wouldn't know. Right. So they knew they could ask me.
Right. Okay, good. Good. So with that being said, when you began to share with other people that this is what you do, what kinds of responses have you gotten? And how is it perceived to hear that you are a sex coach? What's the perception when people hear that?
The interesting thing is everybody, well, I'm going to say people are excited and then they kind of blush, like they kind of like snicker to themselves. It's almost like a weird childish thing for these adults out
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'll like when I say, I do trauma. I just did a book tour recently, and doing a book tour, I got up and introduced myself, and I said I'm a sex coach. Now so everybody's like, oh, woo woo, like they're excited, and then
yeah.
they quietly hit me in the DMs. Or
Yeah,
they come over and talk to me. I got something going on. I need help with. Like it's still taboo.
it's taboo. It
Like
feels.
it's 2023 and it's still taboo. We don't talk about the fact that we're having issues in the bedroom.
Well, it's interesting because it's hard to talk about issues in the bedroom if you feel like you can't even talk about sex in the beginning. I mean, the
Period.
whole topic is kind of shrouded in mystery and in secrecy. And
Yes.
for some people, it's also in shame.
And shame. And that's the biggest part that I find that coaching so many different people is the shame portion. And what I know to be true is depending on where they were, what their age group is, right? And depending on if there were some religious things that was a part of it, depending on who their family familial type was, it's the shame around like, I want to enjoy this, but because I was born during this time, or we were told that you shouldn't do this. And women are meant to be procreators, not like sex is not supposed to be fun.
Not fun, right? And not enjoyable,
And not enjoyable.
right?
What in the whole world?
What in the whole world, right? And you could have said something else. What in the entire hell was this about? Right?
Exactly.
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 So when you're thinking about this whole notion that sex is not supposed to be fun for women, in particular for women, but for men, it's supposed to be get out there, do as much as you can. How do you, as a sex coach, begin to switch it so that you understand that in order for you both to be, hey, Tiffany, I see you're here. In order for you both to have the kind of connection, you both have to be able to enjoy it and you have to be able to talk about it.
Yeah. And so that's where the coaching comes in, right? So we get to explore, okay, why don't you think you're supposed to? And so they give me their story, right? And I love it. I get it. I'm very sensitive to and compassionate for people who have all the stories. And then I asked them, well, would you like to enjoy it? And it's such a simple question, but the answer is always very complex for people.
What do you mean when you say that complex?
Complex meaning like, well, I think I probably could, however, and I'm like, what's the however for? And then there's the buts. Like it's always maybe, and then it's like, yes, and it's always that. It's
Yeah,
always that. It's never like, absolutely, help me get to it.
yeah, yeah.
Because whatever the story they have going on in their mind, that's what's stopping them from wanting to enjoy it. And so when I ask that question, like the rebuttal happens first. We come back around to it at the end of the session. We come back around to it because I know that that's not what they really want to say. It's just
Right.
that this is what they have been trained and rehearsed themselves to say over and over again.
Right,
There's
right.
a but.
There's
There's a
a
however.
judgment. There's a sense of judgment, I guess, and that maybe they're trying to feel you out. Are you going to judge me for saying, I certainly want to enjoy this, or no, I don't enjoy it, or whatever the case may be.
Or there's that shame factor of I'm not supposed to enjoy
I'm not
this.
supposed to. Right, right.
I'm not supposed to.
And so, the truth is there are a couple of things that I know that I've been aware of, I've been exposed to that would kind of limit someone's ability to really enjoy sexual engagement And Terrell, is it Terrell? Am I saying it right? Say yes, or Terrell? Okay, we have a guest who's making a point here. Who said, I found that what we enjoy, we do more. Who wouldn't like more intimacy? And I agree. Terrell. Okay, Terrell. All right. And so with some people, their challenge is from sexual abuse, because that, from my experience with women, like I said, that I have facilitated workshops for, it shuts them down. I mean, because it feels like they're not safe in their own bodies. And the other thing that I find is another limiter, or something that reduces someone's ability to really enjoy it, is the stories that we get from church that really talk about, from religion, that talk about the need for you to be virginal, for you to be celibate for indefinite periods of time. And I have friends who've done that, who have spent years being celibate. And I think it's the intention is good, because you have to understand the intention behind sex, and it's meant for pleasure, it's meant for procreation for sure, but it's also meant for, it's a normal part of the whole human experience, the whole body thing. And so with those two things, and those are the two things that I find more than anything that really shut or limit people from really enjoying sex. What other things have you found that keep people kind of in a space where they are limited by sex?
So even outside of religion, there's this space where good girls don't.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So there's a story out there that good girls behave a certain kind of way. So we don't do this, and we definitely don't talk about it.
Right.
So there's also a hierarchical classism that says, if you are this person, so say if you're at the top of the food chain, or if you're considered like wealthy and this, that, and other, you don't do anything but be a wife.
Now that's
And then what does wife look like? So it's not just even like religion, it's also cultural. So think about different backgrounds. If you're Mexican, there are some things that they, start out very earlier than cultures. If you're Italian, there are some things that they experience that they talk about in a certain different type of way. If you're African American, there are some beliefs. So all of these different cultures on top of what the world says, but then your culture also plays a huge portion in why you would or wouldn't.
Right. And I see someone else coming on. Michelle is here. And so that makes sense, though. It does make sense. And it becomes difficult, I think, for people to get beyond what their cultural indoctrination is as well, because it's like you don't want to be ostracized within the culture. And so you kind of fall in line with what everyone else does and what everyone else says.
Or you sneak.
I'm sorry?
Or you sneak around.
Or you sneak. And I'll tell you this, I also talked to someone, she's not a sex coach per se, but she talks about sex. This is part of her conversation in the world. That's what she does. And she talks about how she decided she was going to start talking about this. She said, because even though everyone says, you don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, she knew that everyone was having sex.
Everyone is. Well, and let me say, my favorite thing is to talk more about intimacy. So I like to wrap it up in that big thing of intimacy, because even if you're not having partnered sex, you're doing something with yourself.
As in masturbate. Okay. As in masturbation.
And it doesn't even have to be necessarily the masturbation, but you're loving on you in a certain kind of way that makes you feel good within your body and your genitals. So you may be a person, some people eat and be like, oof. Like that makes them feel amazing. Some people look in the mirror and that makes them feel amazing. So the asexual people, there's people that literally don't do penetrative or touch anything, but the different things that they do within their bodies or different things they enjoy, like watching stuff.
Yeah.
watching other people, that's enough for them. So everybody is getting pleasure.
But they're doing it in different ways.
They're doing it in different ways. But they're doing it, like she said, everybody's having sex. Everybody's experiencing pleasure.
Right.
What's your pleasure story? That's different from, it's going to be all across the board. And because I've worked with so many different people, I've learned some things that I had not knew was like pleasurable for people. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Love it.
Yeah, because it's interesting to think about, even if you're not physically or physically engaged in sex penetration, that you're getting your pleasure you're from eating, and that's like the satisfaction, or
Mm-hmm.
your pleasure from some other sources. So you're talking about eating as a form of being feeling the freedom in your body, because that's really what we were talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
Or doing the physical, when you say that, what I think about are people who are, it seems they're obsessed with their bodies, like the way it looks, I've got to get, be a certain way, I've got to look a certain way, posing and everything. But that may be one of the ways that you're talking about them feeling free in their bodies.
Yes.
And then what other ways do people wind up feeling free in their body?
So we have, like, I just gave you a couple. Some of them is so not necessarily full masturbation. Of course, we know that that's a thing. But it could be like watching shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking porn,
Right.
because there's that, but I'm like literally watching shows, going to concerts. People have told me when they're at concerts, seeing their favorite artists at a concert, they literally enjoy it. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I would have never thought about it. Like, you're just in a room with 1,000 other people at a concert, but it's like that's a pleasure for them. Like, they can really, really have a full-on orgasm being in a concert.
Wow. So how do they maintain that? I mean, long term, do they just keep going to concerts?
Of course, because they're
No.
fans.
I mean, like on a regular basis. I'm going every week. I'm going every month. I'm going every.
Well, when the opportunity comes.
Okay.
But they have other ways, of course, that they enjoy pleasure. But this was one that I had never heard of before. Like, you literally like have an orgasm because your person, that's interesting. It was the first time that I heard that. And I was like, wow. Like, I always knew that like porn or like watching other people being a voyeur or something like that was one thing. But like literally just being in the room,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was new for me.
It was new. It was a new thought to me too.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to watch a show by Gwyneth Paltrow and the Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow, who is the CEO of Goop. Have you heard of it?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I follow it at all.
Okay. And anyway, in this show, it talks about, I'll have to look up the name of it, but in the show, she talks a lot about the it is intimacy, but it really has a specific focus. And it was about one person was on there because they had sex coaches that were there, or sex therapists who were helping couples who were talking about their need to be able to relate to their partners sexually from a different angle. One person had never had an orgasm with her husband. One person had a lot of anger towards her husband, so they weren't connected, intimate.
Mhm.
Another person was just trying to get comfortable with her own body so that she could actually allow herself to be experience pleasure in any way, shape, or form. And so as a sex coach, when you're thinking about things like that, and I'll look up the name while you're answering, what are ways that you think that people can actually begin the process of becoming more comfortable with themselves and just in their own bodies?
The one thing that I'm a very like, let's take it to the easiest way. Like, I like things to be so easy for people to understand. So I say, let's go back to elementary.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not feeling okay with you, can we agree that you have a body? Because a lot of people don't even like their bodies, right? And so they're like, I don't like this, it's not right. And then I don't feel good over here. And then I'm mad about this. But can we agree that you have a body? Yes. Can we agree that your body does amazing things for you?
Yes.
So you may not like your back, your back fat. You may not like the shape of your boobs, but
Mhm.
can you agree that that elbow has been doing some work
Right.
for as long as you've been living?
Right. Right.
What
Exactly.
about those knees? Those knees have been kicking in because people don't want to think about like parts that they don't think about. They always want to think about things that they don't like. But have you loved on your elbow? Have you really spent some time like appreciating your elbow,
Hmm.
your fingers, your
Hmm.
toes, not your whole foot, your toes? Do you know that they're there for a reason? We wasn't made with toes to not have them. Like there's a reason why we had toes.
Right.
Have you loved on your toes lately? So a lot of times it's getting people back to what, like I said, is elementary. Let's start with the basics. I have a body. You don't have to say you love it yet. My body has been doing amazing things for me.
Hmm.
Yes. Doesn't matter whether you're going through some type of illness. I get a lot of people who are diagnosed with certain things and they feel like it's all bad because they have these diagnoses. But something on your body is still working because you're talking to me. Can we agree that your cheekbones is doing something for you? Not your mouth, you might not even like your mouth, but your cheekbones doing something. It's a whole face. Something on there is doing something. What about your ears? When was the last time you rubbed your ear and said, "Oh, I like my ears. Thank you, ears. Thank you, mouth."
So what you're doing really is you're getting people who may feel uncomfortable with their bodies to find something that they can appreciate on their own bodies. And
And
then
they hate it. They
if they
hate when I
hate
do
it,
it this.
if they hate it, and then if they do that, then what other things can they do to get to the point where they have some appreciation and they feel more free in their own body?
So that initial one that's so, like I say, elementary is to like, let's actually pay attention to what we do like. So what that does is it invites them to start recognizing that they like them.
Okay.
Because there's always going to be the rebuttal on what I don't like.
Yeah.
But if you can appreciate that the body is doing something for you, that you love it, even in the most simplest form, that you're excited and you're grateful. So that whole gratefulness is a part of it. I sneak it in. They don't know that's what I'm doing, but that's what I'm doing. So if
Mhm.
you can start to be grateful for what you do have, and you can find the love of you, then now let's talk about what it is that you want. But we have to start at a baseline of, instead of the anger and being upset and what I don't have and shame and guilt, if we can get to the gratefulness, then we can start to talk about what it is that you want to do or
Okay.
what you want to enjoy.
Okay. Okay. And so when you're starting with someone who is feeling like, I don't really know, or I don't feel like I should be able to, I shouldn't enjoy this. What do you say to them? How do you actually get them to
Oh
move?
my gosh, this is such a great empowerment portion of it because a lot of people feel like they shouldn't,
Right.
right? So we work through the story. So we definitely go through whatever they're,
We can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you now.
because if they are creating this story and sticking in that story, then we're not going to go anywhere. So let's talk about the story. So whatever that story is, we talk about that first. And
Mhm.
then it's really a question of what do you want?
Mhm.
They shouldn't, right? So anytime you should on yourself,
I can't hear you again.
I don't know why it's keep muting.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I can't
Yeah.
hear you.
You can't hear me? Can anyone else hear me? Just wave your hand if you can.
Yeah, I can hear you, Tanya.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now I can hear you now.
Hear me now? Okay. All right, cool.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. So we're back. I can see. Okay. I can hear you too.
Okay, perfect. So we start with that story.
Mhm.
And then we decide why they feel like they shouldn't, because there's a reason why people think they shouldn't do anything, right? I shouldn't this because whatever. But then here's the part where it becomes empowering because who told you you shouldn't? And what if today you just decide that you should?
So let me ask you this. Some of the should nots are coming from what you grew up believing, what you grew up
Mhm.
understanding. So how do you get your mind beyond the guilt of it? Because if you do it and you really, really feel like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be doing it, you're still feeling guilty about what you're doing. And there may even be a sense that what you need to do is to sneak or to be kind of deceptive about what you're doing, but you're being deceptive to me with yourself. As
Mhm.
I mean, it's you and you, right?
Yeah, period. But
And
I want to address this. What I want to talk about is anatomy, right? So
Mhm,
when we think about the anatomy, the parts of our bodies,
mhm.
and I will say this really specifically for people who have vulvas or vaginas, I feel like that's some more of the shouldn't people. I get way more shouldn't from that group than I do from the other group, those that are vagina holder and vulva holders.
Right. Okay.
And I remind them, or either tell them they don't even know this, that the clitoris has one job. It was
Pleasure.
literally added to your body for pleasure.
Yeah.
There is no other reason it needs to be there. So when I say love on your elbow, love on your cheekbones and your toes and the back of your knee, the clitoris literally was added to your body for one reason. So if you didn't have one, or if it wasn't supposed to be something you should enjoy, then why is it there? It has
Right.
a purpose.
Right. Right. The show that I was telling you about with this Gwyneth Paltrow thing was Sex Loving Goop, and it was
Okay.
on. And the description is experts help couples to learn how to enhance their relationships through more pleasurable sex and deeper intimacy. And the reason I brought it up again is because one of the sex coaches there talks strictly about the clitoris as you're talking about. And she talked about it's all of this. It's not just
Oh no, yes.
it's like all of this. And she
Hmm. Hmm.
placed in this space is actually considered a clitoris. And so it's not just one little small dot on your
Not a
body.
button, not
It's
just a
it
button.
is just, so to your point, it's a very expansive part of your body. It's not just like an earlobe. It's a huge part of your body. So for it to be a spot of pleasure or a pleasure center, it would make sense from that standpoint.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so when you're getting people beyond the body, do you enjoy this? Do you enjoy that? This part of your body, your clitoris was specifically there for pleasure. Where do you go next with people?
So the biggest thing is what that knowledge, that information, because again, like you were talking about, it has legs. Like it doesn't, like you said, it's not just a button, it has legs. A lot of people have no clue. So then a lot of time it's an exploration time. We need to be Dora the Explorer. We need to get out here and go explore ourselves, whether it's my male clients or my female clients, or like I say, penis holders or vulva holders, like whatever it is, let's go explore. What is it that you didn't try? And so I ask people and they talk and I was like, what have you tried before? What don't you like? Because if I know what you don't like, we can find 1,000 ways for you to find something else to like.
Right,
Right. So let's go get what you do like.
right,
Because you don't know. You just know what you don't like. You spent all these years being angry at what you don't like, but you had no clue there's so many other things you can do. And so that's where it comes. It's always exploration. And I do this thing with the mirror. Like there's so many mirror exercises that we can do, well, mindset and other things, but also sex coaching.
right,
Let's go look.
right.
Many penis holders have always looked.
Yeah,
They know all about it. Vulva holders, not so much. Never seen it. Don't have a clue.
right,
Sometimes barely touched it.
right.
Right. So it's like, let's go explore. And so through that exploration, I definitely give homework, but I give it's time for you to come back and then like, what did you find out? What did you learn about you? Did you even know that you can learn something about you at this point? And a lot of the time they come back surprised. I didn't know this was this. Oh, I found a mole on my body that I didn't even know I had. Like, it's like, you have no clue. You've never looked. You have no clue. And when I talk about exploration, I mean it 100%. There's this exercise that I give them as well to love on you 100%,
Mhm.
all humans. And one of the things is to do something that we typically do every day after a shower or before we get dressed. We have our different ways that we put on moisturizers, but I say do it, but do it very slowly and do it with gratefulness while you're doing it.
Yes. And I've heard about that. I love my legs. I love my legs. I love my whatever, my arms. I love whatever it is.
Yeah, but do the entire body. Like it literally is, it takes time. When I do it, it's about 40 minutes because I'm going very slow. Like collarbone. I do shea butter, right? So I have my shea butter that I use. So it's the collarbone, everything, my shoulders. Like it's very slow because we're not in a rush. We're so grateful to be able to get up and move around or whatever we have with the mobility that we have,
Mhm.
or the fact that we're still here, whether if we're bedbound,
Yes. Still alive.
we're still alive.
Yeah.
So what does it take to love on you 1000%? To me, that creates the empowerment because nobody else is ever going to love you better than you.
Right. Right.
And if
Right.
you're looking outside of yourself to get something, then you're going to be at a disadvantage because you're going to always need somebody else to pour in to receive. But if you start with you first, if you take that time, if you just go slow for every little piece of you, be like, wow, they do like me.
And
Thank
that,
you.
yeah. And that energy just expresses everywhere and it shows up. And people are drawn to it because they see you that you appreciate and love yourself.
Yes.
And then they can appreciate and love you too. So when you're thinking about people who are partnered,
Mm-hmm.
how does this speak to them in what they're doing with their partner?
You know, the interesting part about the being partnered, people are not having conversations. They're not having hard conversations, courageous conversations,
Courageous conversations. Yes.
right?
Mhm. About
Instead, about sex, about intimacy. If we get busy, say for instance, our lifestyle where we have things going on, we work and we got kids, or we're trying to be this and but they're not talking about it when they want it. Both sides, whatever that dynamic look like, they're not talking about it. But you know why? Because they think they're going to get rejected by their partner.
that's powerful. That's a powerful thought. Then, okay. So given that, the question becomes, how would you be with someone and still feel like you're going to get rejected on something that's so see, to me, it's kind of sort of a central component of a relationship. And given that you're probably engaged in physical intimacy with that person anyway, what do you think people feel like they're going to be rejected by?
They're whatever. So say for instance, if it's a partnership where they are being intimate physically, but they want something different to happen.
Okay.
My vulva holders, I just got to go there right now. A lot of women does not get to an orgasm or have extreme pleasure from penetrative sex because the way that clitoris is.
Right. Exactly.
And so, but they won't tell nobody because when we got together, we was this and this was amazing. But they never said it. They never experienced the freedom of enjoying it. Or it has to be a certain way. They
Mhm.
don't want that thing they don't want their partner to know that they necessarily wasn't doing a good job.
Ah, And
Because so
isn't,
they're taking on the other person's stuff. That's what I call it. Like you're taking on that person's stuff.
okay,
You're trying to control them.
you're trying, ooh.
Mhm. They don't know. Like when I said, they be like, no, I don't do that. But I'm like, no, really, you're manipulating them, because if you cannot control what their thoughts are going to be. What you get to do is say what works for you, and then they get to decide how they feel about it. And I'm not saying go out and be an asshole about things, but what I'm saying is the way that if you don't do it because you think they're going to respond a certain kind of way, you're not getting what you want, so you're lying to you.
And you're lying to him because he has no idea. So he couldn't change if he wanted to.
He couldn't. And then on the flip
Or,
side, when it comes to the men,
your partner couldn't change, whoever.
right,
you-
whatever
yeah,
that
yeah.
dynamic looks like.
Yeah.
And when it comes to me, when it comes to penis holders, what I found that what they do is they just do the basic, like, this is how we get to ejaculation. And even though I don't like this with this person that way, or things have changed, because we all change over the years, right? So these partners sometimes have been together for a while. And so they do the same lying thing. They lie to themselves because they're not enjoying it either.
Right.
They're just getting to like the gusto. And on top of it, if they ask for something if they want to do something different, then she's going to think, I'm messing with somebody else. That's one thing that comes up all the time. Like somebody want to change what they enjoyed before or do something different, there's always a thought that they were with somebody else for them to want to enjoy that. There's also the fact that they may not be able to perform to the best of their ability. So they have that kind of like performance anxiety.
Yeah.
And on that portion, and sometimes I find that penis holders just are afraid of doing something different.
Well, let me give you some of the comments that have come in. One, fear of rejection or performance anxiety is real for men. And that rather be taught than frustrate my partner. I'm not sure what that means. Terrell, you can actually come off mute. Let's see. Yeah, if you come off mute and explain that, rather be taught than frustrate my partner. I'm not sure what that means. Are you still on mute? Because I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Well, let me say another thing that he said. A smart man realizes that you can do nothing for a long time. And again, okay, there we go. I think we hear you now.
Well, what I meant by rather be taught than frustrated, it goes back to a simple statement: tell me what you like, even sometimes tell me how to do it.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times getting in sync and rhythm is also very important.
Mhm.
I think a smart man learns, and it may come with time and experience, that it's more important to please in the way please than just perform and dominate. As we said in using the word partner, we are partners, and that means together.
Okay. I like that. And so, Monaye, what's your comment about that?
I think that when you talk about just teaching, period, that's the simple thing. But I'll tell you this, a lot of people on both sides, whether it's the male or female or whatever, they don't want to teach, or they don't know how to teach. And it's not common for people to want to teach. Like they don't get that that's a good thing.
I wonder if this has to do with many of us, no one ever tells you what it looks like or what it takes to actually be pleased or to experience pleasure when it comes to sexual intimacy, right? And so for some people, and I'm saying this loosely, and I'm glad we have a man on the call. I always think that men learn about sex from porn, and that they are learning, or their thought is, this is what women should be doing, or this is what I should be doing with the woman that I'm with. And I remember I dated someone who wanted me to watch porn with him. And I said, I can't watch this because I feel like they're performing. And I mean, to me, there's nothing loving, there's no tenderness. It's straight sex. And I think they're performing. I mean, they really are performing. There's no
Intimate about it for you.
Yeah. And so I was like, I just can't do it. I just can't do it, But I always think that for some men in particular, that's how they learn. And when the woman is not responding, because there's nothing there, that it's not intimate at all. I think that it may frustrate him, and he may feel like he's not performing properly. And for her, she may feel like I'm not getting what I want. And so when you're looking at it from that standpoint, how is it that you can get people to say, this is what I enjoy, this is what I need, how can we actually make this work so that we both are satisfied?
Getting what we want. Yeah. So what I teach is you own your sexuality.
Mhm.
So like we just said, your empowered self,
Mhm.
it's not your partner. You own your sexuality. You own your intimacy. You own what makes you feel good. Your partner has no clue. They can try and do all the wrong things because the last person they was with used to like this, but you may not like it at all.
Or that's just what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because you own your sexuality, both male and female, right? This is where I come in, like, because a lot of men want some things to happen from a woman, but they don't do it the way they want it because they don't know. The
Right.
whole teaching that he talked about, literally, because you own your sexuality, in order for you to get what you want, you have to create it. You cannot defer that to nobody else.
Okay.
And every time you do defer it and you get mad that he's not doing it right, why are you mad at him?
'Cause
Why
you
are you
didn't-
mad at him?
Right, right. So let me say this, ladies. I have some ladies on here, two of whom are married, one of whom isn't. What are your comments? What are your thoughts about this? Because we're having this conversation, but I don't see a whole lot of comment. I like that Terrell actually had some comments, but the ladies, I don't see you guys really commenting a lot. So if you need to come off mute in order to make to comment, because Tiffany, I know you're on the road, you're in the car, so you might have to unmute to do it. But for the rest of you, what are your thoughts about this? But in the meantime, we're going to keep going, but I definitely want to hear what else you have to say. So let me ask you another type of question. I have a friend, as a matter of fact, I have two friends, and who have been in long-term marriages. I mean, married for years and years and years and years. One person probably right now is about 30, probably at 30 years, who has not had intimacy, like physical intimacy with her husband in probably 20 of those years. How would you, when it comes to intimacy, if your partner is unable and you're married and you honoring the vows of your marriage, and your partner for whatever reason is unable to perform, how else would you suggest, recommend the introduction or the consistent intimacy there? I mean, what would that look like in your suggestion, in your experience?
I'm assuming that this person has the desire. They want to enjoy it. Because sometimes people don't desire it anymore. And that's okay. Like,
Mhm.
are you good with your reason? Are you okay with not desiring? So I'm going to assume that they want it to happen.
Okay, that's
And so
a starting point.
I mean, let's get there first. Okay. So they have the desire, they want it to happen. And so I'm gonna talk about this from both sides of the human anatomy, right?
Okay.
So say for instance, this partner that can't perform is the female. So this is a male and female partnership, right? So I'm going to talk on it on that way. The female can't perform, or it doesn't matter who they with. The male wants something to happen. Their partner can't perform.
Right.
There are so many erogenous zones on our bodies. That's not just our genital.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There's
Mhm.
all the erogenous zones. Like the fact that we put so much weight on penetrative or genital sex and forget that we have nipples, we have necks, we have ears, we have legs, we have toes, we have fingers, we
Mhm.
have play.
Mhm.
There's so many things to do just enjoying the body that we don't even explore. Again, what is this exploration we're not doing? The
Right.
performing is thinking about genitals. There's
Mm.
so many other things. We have mouths that are amazing, that
Mhm.
can go a lot of places,
Right. Right. Yeah.
right? So we have that. And then the other thing is we have toys. Now, if we get into talking about toys and the shame around that and good girls don't and different religions shouldn't and da 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 da. Even if you don't want to go to the store and buy a toy or go online and buy a toy, there's a lot of things in the house. The kitchen is an amazing place to find toys.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
bathroom.
Right.
The kitchen and the bathroom have all type of toys in there that you can play with. So it's not about what that person cannot do. It's about what can we create together? How can we do intimacy together? How can we explore each other? What could we find out? Like to me, I think it's like can be an adventure with you and your partner.
Right. I like
Like
that.
remember when you were first together, you were all excited about doing all these things. Yes, Tantra too.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That was the next that one at the end.
Yeah.
All the things that we wanted to do, and we found ways to do it, and we enjoyed it, and we figured it out. Like to me, you can still do that after 30 years. What does
Right.
that adventure look like? If that's your desire.
Right.
If that's your desire. And then the last one, like the I think it was Tiffany that said.
Let's again talk about food. Someone said.
And then the tantra part about it, like what does it look like to just be with your partner? Have you ever breathed together? Have you
Mm.
ever just sat with each other nude and just enjoyed being together and breathe together? You don't have to necessarily take a tantra class. Like you don't have to go look for it, but just do something that's simple. And that's where I typically, when I start talking about tantra for people, is like, what does it look like to just be with your partner? Be like a human being, be not thinking, not talking, just being with them and breathing together.
So when you're saying tantra, what does that really mean for those people who really don't understand it? Because
So the art of tantra is literally a portion of it is engaging with a partner. Well, you can do it by yourself. So, but engaging in a space where it's not penetrative all the time. It's really a connection. It's an energy. It's a soul connection. It's allowing yourself to really kind of remove the thoughts of everything has to be fluid in this way and just really be with your person. I call it an energy exchange.
okay, I like that. I
Which
like
you're doing it anyway with other things, but this one is an intentional energy
intentional.
exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. And how can food be a part of that? As Terrell's mentioning, how can
It's,
food be a part of
I
that?
think
Let me- let
I
me-
want Terrell to tell me what he's thinking.
Yeah, because I have a friend who is very, very interested, engaged when it comes to food, and very much like, food is really, really, really like that. When you watch them after they eat it, you know they're feeling this whole
It's an
meal, this whole thing.
aphrodisiac.
Yes, it is. It really is. So, Terrell, do you want to unmute so you can talk to us a little bit about what you mean by the food part of it?
Okay, here I go again. But a lot of intimacy is about play. It's
Mhm.
about textures. It's about visuals. It's about time. The different foods have different textures. Different foods have different tastes. Different foods may feel good on the body in places that they don't even know. I'm a huge proponent of exploring every inch of my partner's body. because only by doing that, sometimes do they discover places that give them pleasure that they don't even know, because one, they can't reach, don't reach, or can't reach with what I can reach with.
Right.
So food, textures, time, taste, all those things go in to how we can use food. And I know a lot of times people look at that and go, well, wait a minute, that's kind of perverse, but being perverse and being pleasurable is only about the mentality that you approach it with, not the act of doing it.
Right. Right. All right. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So I have three other ladies on here in addition to Monaye, and I just want to see if you guys have things you want to share, because this to me is a kind of conversation that I don't know if you're going to have this conversation with someone, and this would be the place to share whatever your thoughts are. Particularly, I have a relationship coach on here, and given what we're thinking about and what we're hearing about, I'm really curious about what you're thinking when you hear this as it relates to relationships and coaching in that space. I also have someone who's been married for years, has like 5 children, and I'm just curious, after being married all this time and having the children, what is your perspective when it comes to thinking about intimacy, pleasure, and the idea of play when it comes to your partner time, or even your own personal time? Because the other thing, Monaye, you could tell me if I'm getting this right or wrong. It seems like when you are partnered up, then it's like the focus becomes so much on your partner that it feels like you don't really focus as much on yourself and being able to enjoy yourself. Because I also have a single person on here who, I mean, what do you do in that situation? You're not partnered, but now, it's like, what do I do to actually make sure I'm in a space of pleasure and enjoyment of my body as well?
Like, it goes back to what I was saying. It's like you own your sexuality. Like, you are the person that creates what you want for yourself. And if you haven't spent time enjoying and learning your body, let's do that. Let's figure out what I like. Let's
Yeah.
figure out what I like. So because you own your own self, and this gets me in trouble all the time, I truly believe it's okay to be selfish.
All right. When you say that, what do you mean?
Because the definition of selfish, it's not a bad thing. Actually, go look it up and read the definition, the first one. Don't go deep in there because they got all these extra add-ons. But if you take the word self and ish and you put those two things together, right? We know it's a complex word, a word that's compound word that's put together, and it's not a bad word. And so if you are selfish in the bedroom because you want to get pleasure, there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And do know this, when you are enjoying what you like fully, the person that you are with, if your partner, is going to get the ultimate goodness because you are enjoying yourself. So every endorphin that you give off, everything that you get, that hit of dopamine, all of that, they're going to experience all of that with you. But if you're holding back, they don't get any of that. And if you by yourself, oh Lord, I love with me. Like me have an amazing time.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I know everything that I love. And then I can go have a partner and enjoy with that person. But when I'm by myself, listen, we have a great, amazing time every day. In the middle of the day, in the morning, it doesn't matter. So that's why I say that level of selfishness, when people think it's a bad thing, whether you're in a bedroom or not. And I always, it's really a big thing for my penis holders. That's like, I just want her to X, Y, and Z. And so I want her to get all the pleasure and all of that. And I'm like, yes, please do that. However, if you're not also getting something for you, then you're not giving her anything, because she really do want to please you too.
Exactly.
No, get you some. Like, enjoy yourself as well.
Right.
Like, literally get you some.
Get you some. I love that. I love that. And Tiffany made a comment, we've experienced a lot of the different stages of intimacy that Monaye has covered. So yeah, So that's good. That's good. So, okay. So, and you can also experience times of reciprocity. She is the focus one time and me the next. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that too. So, okay. So if
Oh,
anyone,
you know what? Before you go there, I did want to mention something really quick that you were talking about when you were with a partner and they wanted you to watch porn. And there's such a thing called ethical porn now.
yes, now I have
And so,
found it too, because I
yeah,
watched this show with Goop, Sex, Love, and Goop. And then there's one of the sex therapists on there that talked about, she has a whole thing, and it just one thing led to another. And I started watching, and I've just been aware of there's some other things out there. So
so I wanted to make sure I put that out there, that so for people that think like that, the lack of intimacy is not there, the very staged, random, like I'm the cable man, bunch of like, no.
yeah.
There's things where it's real couples,
Yeah.
that are real couples that are deciding to choose this, that get paid fair wages. So if you look at ethical porn, if you just type it in your private browser, if you need to type it in a private browser, that there are actually different things than just the mainstream ones that a lot of people know about. And it really is way different than the other ones, because they made sure that there was sex workers that wanted to be treated fairly. And that's where ethical porn came.
Okay. And it's a whole different, the focus of it is different than
It
the
is.
part of it, of the other kind of porn. So there is that. I do want to say that there is that. And I've just seen it. So there's that. That's all. Okay.
Yes.
So that being said,
If you see me in one, don't pretend like you can be like, I think I know her.
okay, I'll be like, hey, all right, come on, girl. So, with that being said, hey, Tiffany, I see your picture.
Okay. So Tanya, when I registered for this one, I thought, oh, that's a good title, and I didn't read it. I didn't read the details. I just thought it's Tanya. It sounds good. I'm going to register for this one. So, but it has been amazingly something that I needed to hear, a reminder, because I have been married for 27 years. And I do have 5 children, 12 to 26. I had to think about it. And so we've been through all those stages, all the things that you've talked about. We've had some, days where we've been frustrated with each other, or, there's some anger or some resentment or and then there's also been the pleasurable time, where we've just totally enjoyed doing stuff, or we've said, hey, let's go do this. Or, I think the biggest challenge as they got older, though, was finding the time.
Right.
And so that's been the biggest challenge. And a lot of people ask, how do you even do this with 5 other people in the house?
Right.
But you figure it out.
Yes.
So it's been really good. Thank you, Monaye. Thank you, Tanya. It's been great.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. So, okay, Monaye. So what do you have going on? You mentioned a book. What is the name of your book?
So I have a mindset journal. It's a 90-day mindset journal. It's called Become a Gym. And GYM actually, of course, is an acronym for something. And it walks through what you do daily. So it's a very specific method that I teach in that journal on how to maximize your life. So you decide what you want to do, and in 90 days, you do it.
Okay.
So it could be something big, small, and different. You can achieve some things in between and add something on. I literally had a client that started it and then made thousands of dollars in her business after just following herself. It is all about you, right? So I'm always like you when it comes to the mindset. It's always about like, what can I do for me?
Right.
And be selfish. Because I talk about being selfish a lot. Like it's okay, you all. And then also, I have a course, an e-course called Cultivating Freedom. And the biggest thing about cultivating freedom, one of the things we were talking about that I wanted to highlight is trusting ourselves. So within this course, one of the modules is all about trusting yourself, all about where did you go wrong? according to you, where you stopped trusting you, and then now, how are you starting to do that again? How are you creating that for yourself?
Okay. And so how can people find these things from you?
They can go to Monaye Marcia. Yes.
Yeah, the gratitude moisturization. I like that.
Yes, it's a whole
Yes,
thing.
you do.
It's amazing for real. But I'm Monaye Marcia, MONAYEMARCIA on all the platforms. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and my website is monayemarcia.com. If you go on there, just click on the breakthrough session and we'll walk you right through. It's not one of the ones where it's like, oh, we gotta change our world or our lives or do something crazy. It's a conversation. I'm a big conversation person. Let's just get on a chat, let's converse, and then we'll see what's next for you. If you want to cultivate freedom, we're going to hit you with that one. If you want to do something more, we can do that too. And I always tell people, get some, go get you some. And what I mean by that is whatever you want to have in your life.
Whatever that means to you, right? Whatever that means to you. Yes.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So I just want to say thank you for this. Let me make a comment. I want to make an announcement for everyone. We have courageous conversations each month, first Saturday of each month. So you can register for these over and over and over again, and you can just be part of the conversation. Next month, my guest is Tiffany Broadus, Healing Broadus, who's on here, and she's going to talk about how moms still need to dream and do the things that they want to do, even as a mom. And she's a mom of 5. So she certainly has she knows what she's talking about when it comes to that. And so with that being said, I want to say thank you, Monaye. Thank you for coming and thank you for being our guest and really talking about this conversation. And I want to thank all of you who've been here and who have participated in the discussion, because my hope is that this has actually opened your eyes, given you some kind of enlightenment or some kind of thought about what else is possible for you, even with yourself. If it's you and you, then it's okay. If it's you and someone else, it's okay as well. So with that being said, we're gonna shut it down for today. And I just want to say, I look forward to seeing you all again next month. All right. Bye for now, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you both.
Okay. Bye-bye.